Hello everyone and welcome to Green Wings Migration Channel. My name is Eleonora Romanini. I'm a registered migration agent here in Perth, and we decided to open this channel to discuss everything about migration to Australia and for people who are already in Australia. Today in particular, I would like to focus on visitor visas, which obviously appear to be fairly straightforward and quite simple, but they do hide many issues and details that can make it complex, or more complex than what it should be, realistically speaking. So let's start from saying that there are several kinds of visitor visas that you may apply for to come to Australia. Some people, depending on their passport, they could use visa 651, also called e-visitor visa. E-visitor visas are free. They are fairly simple in terms of documents and information that you need to provide in order to obtain them. You can apply for them online, creating an NIMI account profile, and you will see, if you go through it, that basically they only ask about identity information, residential information, the purpose of your visits, if you have any contact in Australia that you would like to visit, and how are you going to support yourself while in Australia. Visa 651 can only be applied for if you are offshore, so outside of Australia, and you want to come into the country. 651 visa has a validity period of 12 months, but every time that you set foot in Australia, you can stay only for up to 3 months. So you can use the visa multiple times in a year, but every time that you come, you can only stay for 3 months. Before the 3 months are up, you have to leave and then potentially come back if you want. The second kind of visitor visas that can be used is the ETA 601 visa. ETA stands for Electronic Travel Authority. This kind of visa is particularly used by travel agencies when they book your flight. They also book your ETA. There is a small service cost of $20, and it pretty much works the same way as a 651 visa. Lastly, visa 600. So this is where the majority of complexities come up when you want to apply for a visitor visa. So first of all, biggest difference within the other two options is that 600 visas are payable. There is a government charge associated to them. And visitor visa 600 can be applied for either from offshore or onshore. So even if you are already in Australia, you may be able to apply for a visitor visa to extend your stay using the 600 visa subclass. When you apply from inside of Australia, though, the charge is higher. They just recently updated the cost. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's $195 if you apply from overseas and $395 if you apply from inside of Australia. The particular option 600 allows you to declare a willingness to stay for longer than 3 months. Okay, so you may lodge your 600 visa and you may request a stay period for 3, 6, or even 12 months. If you are approved a 12 months visa, the department may basically allow you to stay just one block of time with no need to go back and forth inside and outside just to renew your 3 month stay right. Just carefully check once you receive an approval letter for a visa 600, because your stay period, your stay rights may vary depending on the case officer decision. So it's always better to double check what details, what effectively you can do with that visa. You don't want to overstay your stay period, because then you run the risk to become unlawful. And then, major problems can arise. Visa 600s, they can be issued under 3 different categories. We have a visitor visa for tourist purposes. We have a visitor visa under a family stream support, and we have the visitor visa in the frequent traveler stream as well. We also have visitor visas that would allow you to conduct business visitor activities. Now, this is very important. Business visitor activities are nothing to do with work, okay? So you cannot obtain a visitor visa to come to Australia and work. Visitor business activities are basically coming and visit and maybe taking part to some conferences that are somewhat related to work, but you are not actively performing any kind of work. So you're not actively performing anything for which you might get paid if it wasn't for the visitor visa. Sometimes I hear about technicians coming to Australia, invited maybe by a local branch of the business they work for from overseas, because I don't know, they have to do some sort of repairing or restructuring or teaching, whatever it is. Those technicians, they would need to come to Australia with a 400 visa, which is a specific short-term on-point visa that allows these people to come in and work, okay? If they are coming instead, as I said before, to take part to some conferences, or because, you know, maybe the sister company of their employer has installed a new machinery and they need to learn how it works, then they could use visitor visas with the business visitor activity stream. But if it is for work purposes, then definitely visitor visas are not the right visas. We are currently experiencing a higher number of people who are already in Australia and who are asking us to manage their visitor visas applications, just to extend a little bit more their onshore stay. Although it's possible to apply for a visitor visa from inside of Australia, be mindful that it's not necessarily the case that visa will be approved, okay? So if you have already been in Australia for quite some time, let's make it the example of, I don't know, a working holiday visa holder who renewed 3 years visa, used the COVID visas, and now they just want that little bit more time for whatever. They may think that they could apply for a visa 600. Legally they can, but the possibilities of getting this visa approved are extremely low. This is because within the legislation of visa 600, it also says that if you have already been in Australia for at least 12 months, there must be specific criteria or exceptional circumstances that would attract the need for you to stay even longer. Because the assumption is, if you have already been here for 12 months, what did impede you, what did stop you from doing what you claim you want to do now on the extended time that you will get if the visitor visa is approved. Last but not least, two things very important to remember when applying for visitor visas. First of all, you must give evidence of being a genuine visitor. So you would attach evidence of your travel plans, for example, or a letter in which you explain an ideal itinerary that you want to develop, to explore while in Australia. Maybe you're coming to visit family members, so you would give evidence of the family relationship with these people. And also, last but not least important, you will give evidence of how much money you have available to support yourself during your stay. Always because, as we said before, you're not allowed to work with a visitor visa. Visitor visa timeframes in terms of applicability and approvability, they varies a lot. So for a 651 visa, 99% of cases is approved right away. So you lodge it, and by the time that you go out from the IMI account system, you already have the visa approved in your inbox, in your email. 600 visas, there is a longer waiting period. I would say between 3 days and probably 3 weeks in most cases. But in cases where you have some sort of criminal records, then definitely it can take longer. Something very important to remember on this point, if you want to apply for a 651 visa, you must not have any kind of record at all. Your police certificate must be completely clean. If you have the slightest record, then you will need to apply for a visa 600. And when you apply for the visa 600, in the application form, there is a series of questions that get asked about your character. If you reply yes to any of those, then you need to explain yourself. And depending on the severity of what you did, then the case may take longer to be processed. It's not impossible to obtain a visa if you have some sort of character record, but it's very important to be always upfront, because if you lie on it, then obviously you may have repercussion on the long term, or you may be denied the visa and denied the ability to come back to Australia for a certain amount of years if the department finds out that you lied. Thank you so much for following me today. I hope to see you in the next video.